Hey you guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is NAZJAA and I make college or lifestyle related content. And as you can tell by the title of this video, I went and viewed my Stanford admissions file and I saw what my readers had to say about me, my interviewer, and I saw the rating they gave my application. So I just wanted to share my experience with you guys and show you how I actually got into Stanford and what actually stands out to them when reading applications. And I'll just run through like the whole process and everything I saw on my application when I went in there. Let's just get right into the video because I know that's what y'all are here for. The way this works is that there's an act called FERPA, which stands for Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, and it basically allows students, current and former students of like Stanford University or any other school, to go and view their admissions files. And the way it works is that you sign up online, they send you an appointment date, which is within 45 days, and you have a 20-minute time period to go in, review what they said about you. You can't take any pictures, but you can use pen and paper and write notes, which is what I did. And so I'm just gonna read the notes and tell you guys about what I assume stuff means and what I've heard other people say these stuff means, and just decipher this whole thing. When I went in, it was a group of 4 of us, and I sat at a laptop with like a little dividers around me so no one else could see like what I was writing. And there was a woman in there who was timing us because we literally only had 20 minutes. She was like, "You can start now." And so we logged in on the computer, and the first thing I saw was like a grid, and it had different numbers and abbreviations that I had no clue what they meant. There's a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 6, and they grade each part of your application basically. So the scale of 1 to 6, 1 is the best and 6 is the worst. And so usually people who get in have an overall rating of a 2, and mostly get 1s, 2s, and 3s on the scores that they receive on each part of their application. But the first thing I saw were different tags for like my whole application and who I am. So the 3 tags that I had was div, which I'm guessing stands for diversity or like diverse, and then Gen 1 because I'm a first generation college student, and then QBF, which means Questbridge finalist, I'm guessing. And then I saw my interview scores, which I'll touch on later, but my interview scores were 211. And then my rigor, I'm guessing this means like high school rigor, it said MD, and from past videos that I've seen, MD means most demanding. And then my GPA was a 97.62, and either they recalculated my GPA or they just used my unweighted GPA. I can't even remember if that's my unweighted GPA, but it sounds like it could be, so maybe that's just like my unweighted GPA. And then there was something called PRI and then a 1. And then there was a thing called SU6 equals 4.00. I have no clue what either of those things mean, and I haven't seen anybody who's like even mentioned this, so hopefully I can figure that out eventually. And then my ethnicity, they had 1 in 25, and so I'm Indian and Black, so like Asian and Black. I don't know which number goes to which, but 1 in 25 are my ethnicity tags. And then here's where they actually graded like my supplements, my test scores, my high school rigor, my extracurriculars, and my intellectual vitality. Each person who applies to Stanford has at least 2 readers, and sometimes 3 because I had R2/R3. And then usually like they present you to a committee and then they decide overall if they want to admit you. And so overall my test rating was a 2, which was very surprising. I'm going to talk about that at the end. But then my reader 1 gave my high school rigor a 3, my support a 3, my extracurriculars a 3, and my overall evaluation a 2-. And then my second reader gave my high school rigor a 3, my support a 2, my extracurricular a 2, and my intellectual vitality, I'm guessing like my essays, a 3. And my overall R2/R3 evaluation was a 2- as well. As you can see, I got a 2- overall from both of my readers, and that's why I think I got in, because usually 1s and 2s are the ones to be accepted. And then they recommended that I be admitted. And then at the top corner it said 4-0-0 admit committee read. And I'm guessing that means like 4 people were on the committee and they all voted to admit me. I don't know. That's how I deciphered it, because this is how it looked. So this is what I'm talking about, 400 admit committee read. That's exactly how it was printed on the page, so I just copied that down. I'm not sure if that's what it means, but that's how I deciphered it to be. And then I saw that they noted how I was economically disadvantaged. I'm guessing they put ECD, I'm guessing that means economically disadvantaged, and mentioned how I was on the free lunch program. And then they had a number of 86 next to those abbreviations. So it said FRPL, ECD 86. I don't know what that means. It could be on a scale of 1 to 100, measuring my economic disadvantage. I don't know. That's a little weird, but that's what I wrote down as well. And then I could see actual comments that they wrote about my application. So this is basically me seeing what they liked about me, what they didn't like, what they thought about my whole application, and seeing why they decided to admit me. So reader 1 stated, exceptional academic performance at strong school, notable engagement and leadership, and solid self-presentation. She is reflective and conscious of genuine low cess and minority background. She had significant leadership, and then she went on to list all like the clubs that I was involved in and had leadership roles in. And so just to unpack that, she talked a lot about my academic performance, my involvement and leadership in school, and then my self-presentation, which how I presented myself through my application. And then she said, I am reflective and conscious of my status as a first-gen, low economic and minority background. And then she also said that my interviewer said that it was one of the most engaging interviews he had ever had. So I think the interview played a large role in me getting in, and I got to see what my interviewer said about me as well, so I'll go through that in a bit. But both of my readers mentioned how like strong my interview was, so I think that was a key component. And then for my R2 reader, she said, NAZJAA has distance traveled, excellence in context. Well, I don't know if it was a she. I don't know why I just said that. My reader 2 said, NAZJAA has distance traveled, excellence in context, authentic self-presentation, and these are her POE. Y'all, I do not know what POE means. I assume it means like point of entry, like these are the reasons why I should get in, because I don't know why else they would use that in that like context, but I believe it means like these things are her point of entry, like that's why she should get in. That's just what I assume. I don't even know if that makes sense. And then they also stated, this is kind of private so I'm not going to read what they said, but they talked about how I had appreciation for like the life I lived, and they could tell that I was being super authentic and appreciative of the life I lived throughout my my Common App essay, or my QuestBridge essay. Here's a quote that I copied down from Reader 2. They said, there's so much to like about this girl, including her self-direction in the college process and independence/determination, non-cognitive strength, non-cog strengths, and refreshing perspective from other standard applicants. So that was really nice. I was not expecting that. They basically said that they really liked how I presented myself and how I like took control of my own process, because I talked a lot about that in my essays and stuff. And then they said I have non-cog strengths and a refreshing perspective from other applicants. So I'm guessing that means like non-cognitive strengths, like aside from like academics and like technical skills, they mean I have like maturity and like other non-cognitive strengths, as they said. That really stood out to them. So my essays clearly showcased like what kind of person I was and my authentic self. I wasn't trying to be somebody I'm not, and I guess it showed through. And then my reader 2 also mentioned that they would note the interview and the rating comments that I received from my interviewer, and that I was independent and proactive, and that they would lean in and continue the discussion. I'm not sure what that means. I assume that means in the committee read, they would lean in and continue the discussion to like vouch for me. I'm not sure. That was what my readers said about me in the little comment section, but they didn't place a heavy emphasis on the numbers. They were placing a heavy emphasis on what kind of person I was, and I think that was what was really important. Going on to my interview, my interviewer, we have a really nice relationship now. I know people in California might not get interviews, but I had an interview and I got to see everything my interviewer said about me, and it was like 3 paragraphs, so I just wrote some bullet points on what he stated. He said, I went to a well-regarded school. I had an initiative to help under-resourced people with the clubs that I started, and I had a passion for the school and my experience within the school, and then I was self-effacing but confident throughout the whole conversation. And then he also said I was authentic about my experiences, and I was clearly a doer, and I would thrive on any college campus. And then he rated my application. So the 3 categories for the interview are intellectual vitality, depth/commitment, and character/presentation. So for intellectual vitality, he gave me a 2. For depth and commitment, he gave me a 1. And for character/presentation, he gave me a 1. And he played a really big role. As you can see, both of my readers mentioned my interview, and I think he really helped vouch for me in this process. The last thing that I noticed, like when I went back through it, was that one of the readers commented that I earned a 4 on APUSH without taking the class, and they found it important enough to take note of right here. And that was basically everything that I saw in my admissions file. Some stuff was redacted, I will say that, not a lot. So basically it was the grid of like the abbreviations and numbers, R1 comments, R2 comments, interview, and then they had my whole application aside from my rec letters because we're not allowed to go back and look at those. So yeah, that was what I was able to see in my admissions file. I did not have that much stuff redacted as I've heard some people have had. Some people couldn't see their interview at all. Some people couldn't see anything. So I feel like the longer you wait, the more stuff they'll start to take away and redact. So current and former students can request to see this file if you're interested in seeing. I feel like this is a really cool opportunity and definitely a learning experience when you go and see what people have to say about you and how you presented yourself to them that afforded you this opportunity in the first place. So I want to talk a little bit about my expectations going in because I was so nervous to go in and look at this file. I had heard like some people had really bad experiences, some people had really good experiences, and then some in between. So I was just scared to see what they would have to say. Since I applied through the QuestBridge match, I assumed I'd see why I wasn't chosen as a match, or I would see why they didn't just let me in early versus waiting till regular decision, or if they even waited. I don't know how the whole process worked, but I didn't see anything about that. And I thought I would see them being like more critical about the things I say in my application and how I presented myself, but it actually turned out to be a really good experience for me personally. And it was really affirming to know that I got in based on like all the hard work I did and all the work I put into those essays and the application. You'll already know I was working on that thing for months. I encourage everyone to do the same just because it's a learning experience, whether they say good things about you or whether they're very critical about your application. But I think you should take everything with a grain of salt because they don't actually know you. They only know what you told them about yourself, and they can only see like what you wrote down on the paper, and you're more than just that sheet of paper. So that was my little cliche spiel. But yeah, so that was basically everything I learned from going to see my admissions file. I learned a lot about how they actually rate your application on a scale of 1 to 5. And I would also like how there are parallels between how I assumed I got in and how I actually did get in. So I thought my essays played a huge role, which they did. They said I had a very good, authentic self-presentation, which means came across as very genuine in my essays, and that's what I had hoped to do. And they also emphasized the leadership. So I think extracurriculars and essays stood out as like the most important component that they were looking at in terms of my application. But I have heard stories where their readers went really hard, very critical of like how they wrote their essays and how they came through in their application, but their scores were very high. Their high scores and their GPA and stuff, and that's what helped them eventually get the push to get in. It really just depends, y'all. Like there's no one thing I can say that's like, yeah, this is how I got in, this is how you should get in. I can't really say that. So the interview, my essays, and my extracurriculars had a huge role in me getting in. I used to think that the interview didn't play a huge role, but I think because my interview had a good review, it was more notable to them and like it stood out to them that what kind of person I am. So I feel like that's why it played a larger role in mine than it may have played in somebody else's, or even if you didn't get an interview, it won't play that role in yours. But I definitely think the interview can help instead of hurt. I hope this gave you guys a little bit of insight into what I experienced when I went to view my admissions file. I definitely recommend anyone to do it if you do get into Stanford and decide to attend, or if you're already a student. I don't know if current students would be watching this, but thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what else you guys want to see, and if any of you are early admits to Stanford 2024, congratulations. Leave me a comment below. I would love to chat with you guys. Hope to see you at admit weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.